What's up, y'all? Respect, unconditional love, self unconditional love. It's Ariel Naga Pah Nu Kah, Naga Neta. Alright, yo. So, I want to tap into something real quick. And I'm going to go through three different shifts to try to get you to have some inner over understanding of where I'm coming from. We all talk about issues within this system. We all talk about how certain coaches do this, certain coaches do that, why these coaches don't pay us attention, why they don't do this, why they don't do that, and we talk about history, so forth and on. And it's always like a finger pointing situation, you know what I'm saying now. But then cross reference that. Let's just go way, way back to understand the probability of melanin, how long we've been here, and then the things we've done that actually brought us to this point. So like melanin itself can be in three places at once without having a reference of one changing into another situation. Like ice has to freeze and change from water to a solid, and then even cola from a solid to a gas, and vice versa. But it's never in two circumstances at once, right? But melanin doesn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Melanin is the high archetype of what you want to call elements. That's how I like to look at it. Melanin is the high archetype of what you want to call elements. So, with that being said, at certain particulars of creation, 73 trillion years, the original being has been here. The melanated being has been here. Or plus. There were times where just sitting still in meditation that you can travel all around the plane of existence, being in more than one place at once. The communication between the second dimensions and the level of physicality dimension, the computer chip that was used to tap into the wormholes and the portals for us to walk in between countries less than seconds, was within the melanin, was in the diagram. You know what I'm saying? And as the coaches would change, it was in the tattoos for remembrance. We had the highest form of science that allowed us to transmute different base elemental aspects to combine them into different things that wouldn't be particularly harmful for the flesh when in trying to do grandeur situations. We were the hype and the envy of religious pretense. No matter what the place, it was everywhere. So now, finally, with all antiquity and iniquity, there's been a new process that's taking place, and it's a controlling domineer. So then everything once we were, it seems to be the negative or the disillusion of the planet, not just a particular place, the planet. So then naturally by default, our lower mindsets, people in the conscious community, other people, they will automatically point to what's not being taken place or what's not being rectified from other standpoints. When in fact they really don't matter, because everything and every reason that they are is kind of justified if you think about it, because that's not who you are. You're not a citizen of a country. You're not a You're not a taxpayer. You're not a money getter. You're not a gangster. You're not none of this stuff. You're a Pah Nu Kah. You are a light. Period. You are a Naga, children of the sun, the universe, the cosmos consciousness. You know what I mean? They tried to say it to you in lesser value of telling you that you 3/4 human, not even understanding that the rest of the X's that were missing were higher quality of consciousness that was in us that they didn't want to particularly say that was anything to do with or had any particulars to what we are in this physical, which was a false understanding. So I clearly understand why, for the most part, we see so many different supreme acts and negative outplays from other cultures towards the original culture is because by default, that's the Zeus story. I'm in Ra. Hey Zeus, you know, and what's crazy is like we fight to be lesser. Like we have not clearly understood yet that being a part of what they call good is not our good. So you'll suffer. You're gonna suffer constantly because none of the money, none of the like whatever I'm using right now, nothing that we do in this plane of existence is for us. Even if you look at how people build houses, they have to go to a place to get the right ordinance and somebody to say that it's passable for a house, and then it has to be in the square shape. Like it has to have corners. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever you change that ratio, they start telling you what you can and can't do as far as a home. So where and why, in fact, is most of our issues in the conscious community focused at entities that are on a lower form of creation by a high scale of creation? Meaning that they're on a lower form, meaning they have to use their physical attributes to create things. They have to use power and muscle to do that. When in fact, we were conscious beings out of thoughts. We created things that were simple and simplistic. So if you know you are a melanin being, right, that can be in 3 places at once, I beg to question, why are you trying to be a civilian? I would think our job would be to have our own form of currency. I would think our job would be to have our own place of living for creational thoughts and freeness of the characteristic of the original people, thus to get back from whence we came. But it's never going to happen if only thing we do is find fault in what's not particularly who you are. If you got all this knowledge and at the sum of it, only thing you can say is that you're not this, then the reason why you're not particularly making any effort to change is because you're still pointing a finger at something particularly less than you. So that means you don't understand that the issues that you're dealing with is not a blame situation. It's a change situation. We ain't gonna rise as a people, and we can't keep pointing our fingers at individuals who do different things unless we take the effort to put it in there. Now, collectively, yeah, we can say, oh, we had this and we had Black Wall Street and all that. Okay, but these were creations, right? That was going to formulate the system. That's why they fell. They wasn't righteous. The fuck you need a Wall Street for? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, like I understand what money is, but what you're using to spend with the fake value is more fake value. When in fact you're going to clutter yourself like a hoarder and have no land, have no original minerals, have no pretenses to the cosmos. You're going to give all that up by default. And this is why the constant pain is going to keep happening, because you're choosing to be something that you're not. You won't lean towards what you are. And you hate that false image that they gave to you of it so much, You do not know the basis. So when you see the pictures and you see this, the pictures are scarred and they broke up. First thing in your mind, you say, oh, it probably was hot back then. I don't want to be barefoot, or it's sand around there. Da, 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 da. You know Nathan. Nathan, because you wasn't there. Dumb is the mind of a man that has to learn from a man lesser self. It ain't rocket science. So all your life you've been told what you couldn't do. And now when you think you learned a little bit of something, you think you found some knowledge, when in fact, the knowledge you learned was given to you as well at a point because you wasn't searching for it. So now it makes people sound like rhetoric because they're not even talking their full truth. Only thing they do is they blab with no motion. Thus, it's not the same density of the original melanin form concept or character. By default. So, with that being said, everything that's needed is inside of you in the darkness. No need to be afraid of your darkness. You got to go inside you. And shine light on all the gray areas that make you believe that it's a particular. Believe me, when you start meditating in your darkness, it's okay to meditate in a dark room, but with your darkness, like inside of you, what's gonna happen is you're gonna start noticing that it's more things holding you back than you can realize. It's things that are in your darkness that are stopping you that you don't even pay attention to in your conscious mind. It's because they stopped you before, so they're still there. You're just not focusing. You may say you meditate, you may say you do these things, but you're not, because you would be particularly aware of that. And then naturally, the childlike energy, the child defiant energy. Because remember, it was a defiant child energy of the world that pushed away from shit. The child didn't want to grow up into this way of system. You see? And this is why we focus on pulling in that childlike energy, not for the reason of being a child, but the reason of the original defiance. Okay? This is why they always focus on making a new world order and destroying naturality. That's disobedience. It's not defiance. You know what I'm saying? It's two different processes, but they come from a similar foundation. Thus the contrast. Overall, enter over and understanding what you comprehend or what you say you know is the base of why you should comprehend what you say you know. Otherwise, you stay in a circle or a regurgitation of the same situation that was never fixed. We can talk about problems, but what's the solution? And then when we talk about solutions, you don't choose to elaborate on the fact that the need itself to satisfy the problem is base format in the system. So if you're only going to gain gains from the same oppressors, why try to fix it the way you see fit to stay around? You want validation from your pain. You want rectification from your pain. You want vengeance. That has to happen on a different term. You're not going to walk out of here less than nothing and have that balance unless everything is brought down to nothing, because then there's nothing left to do. That's the reason why they have that president there right now breaking down the systematic way of showing bare bottoms for both scales. So therefore they can get to that, because they know the original beings is not just going to do that. Even if you have nothing, you're going to find something to bring your value up. That's only because you're connected to an original base. But thus, the original base has so many more structures. So many more structures and avenues and attributes that you're not tapping into that allows you to be dynamic. How are you going to be dynamic if you do not know that you can't be dynamic within another system? So the attack on how you handle the issues and who's to blame is dumb. Point blank period is just stupid. I kind of feel sometimes like some of the cry of, and this may make some people feel fucking bad. I feel some of the cry of some of the racists and supremacists is slightly correct. Like, why would you want to be a human? when you know you're not even. But everything that you do, all the shit you wear, everything that you try to obtain is physicality created within that system. So then when do you get back to being original, like having your own original base? When do you get back to creating out of light? Like, it's not even a conversation. It's more or less a how can I do that more? Pah Nu Kah. Naga Net. Prospect. Amin Ra. Yeah, doing my mathematical charts, found out the science of the mathematical charts and the numbers. I found out that my station syllable numbers added up to me being or having the spirit of Amin Ra. It's the reason why the light stays around. It's the reason for the electricity. It's everything that I've known since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, so even other particulars play a role. You have to start doing that and making that an everyday thing. Yes, it's going to feel like a void, like a space missing. It's going to feel like, what am I doing? You're doing the original thing. Now, trying to understand that and put effort into wanting to be more of that is going to be difficult because you're so used to being a slave. So you have to move around. You got to cook. You got to clean. You got to go run here. You got to run there. You got to do everything the system says deemable. The only thing that we keep the closest to originality is fucking. Excuse my language, ladies, but I'm serious. Having sex is the closest thing we keep to having any form of original cosmetic. It's because those fluids are transmuting actual electricity. That's a different form of melanin work. Or when you sleep, that's another one. Or when you have a baby, that's another one. It's not many original things that we do, and those things are becoming non-original because they're being amped up and pushed by other circumstances. There's not an original base. So for the most part, they're going to take everything that's cosmetic and you're gonna allow it because you're gonna keep saying you have issues. And when you talk about these false problems, because you've seen it on TV or you breathe it in the air, you're creating the issue for it to happen in here in the cosmos, within self. So you're using your melanin to build their universe. When in fact, we should be building ours. Or learning from this downfall to structure higher energy to build a bigger and greater one and let them have what this is. They have to come, we've came. So for the most part, I understand that already we've lost more than half because of the constant repetition. Your repetition is your integrity. Your integrity is your action around everybody else. So when I see the same thing regurgitating itself over and over and over and over and over, it becomes a loop of energy, of melanin, especially when it's coming from our people. So you're creating a vortex, right? You're creating a vortex by creating the same conscious characteristic traits over and over and over, creating a vortex that's allowing you to go back inside and back into the system. Because that information that's within that melanin vortex is actually bringing it back to whence it came. Remember, melanin can be in 3 places at once. It's with you, it's in the vortex, and it's where once it came. It's in the now, it's in the future, and it's in the past. So everything that you do in recreation is literally bringing you back to the system. Thus, the situation that we can never collectively beat the plan that was put on us to stand together. That's another thing. The reason why we're doing this over and over and over and we had this whole way of living to each other is because we are already on the train to